I think it's kind of, the problem with making an innovative update as the market incumbent, right? Like if this was a smaller player in the hard wallet space and they did this, they would be seen as innovative and like a new solution to a problem.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of WagMe TV. We have a good one for you today, a very important one, especially if you're investing in crypto. Obviously, hard wallets typically supposed to be the safest place to keep your crypto assets, but we have some controversy going on with the Ledger hard wallet, one of the most popular hard wallet providers out there on the market. So we're going to dive into what's going on, the background behind it, the controversy that it's existing, and whether or not it's actually safe to keep your crypto in a Ledger hard wallet. So I'm going to kick it over to Mata to kind of dive into some of the background here.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction there, Sia. And so, as Sia mentioned, right, Ledger, one of the more popular hard wallet choices, right, that are is gone into by a majority of the crypto community, really. And so, about just a bit over a week ago, the company actually revealed their Recover service, which was essentially an opt-in feature, and it allowed you to recover access to your device should the seed phrase be lost. So the seed phrase, obviously the 12 to 24 random words when setting up a device for the first time. And so it actually works by splitting the seed phrase into shards sent to 3 different services. It's Ledger, CoinCover, and one other. It comes at $9.99 per month. And the idea is if you ever lose access to the seed phrase, at least 2 of the 3 could actually help you to recover that.
So,
and so I think,
why would, like, just rewinding for a second, why would anybody use a hard wallet in the first place?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect, step back from here. So why have a hard wallet, right? The idea, but with a hard wallet is to provide security and utility, right? It's locked away from computers, away from hacking, for protection from cyber attacks, phishing sites, malware, etc. It's pulled off of exchanges, which we've talked about a lot in the past with FTX going down and some of these other exchanges where you don't actually own your crypto. The idea, right, is keep your crypto on the blockchain, have the hardware wallet that actually stores the private key and only the private key, which the way you can think about it is it's essentially the key to open the lock to your address on the blockchain. So you have a hardware wallet to protect your private keys so they can't be extracted, that you have full ownership of those assets, right? So I think the big question is, with this update, it sounds really fantastic, right? If I forget my seed phrase, all is well, I'll be able to recover that and all the funds that are with it. I think once you dive a little bit deeper, that's where the controversy started to really, shine. In order to use that feature, you have to provide identification of some sort. So it's kind of like that KYC, or know your customer, that a lot of the crypto community is not very about. You also have to trust the information won't get out or be shared with someone else. And then the second and most important piece, right, is that the seed phrase at the end of the day could be extracted from the device in the first place, which Ledger at one point claimed that is not possible. So it runs extremely contrary to everything people thought of hardware wallets, right? You have private key that stays on the device and couldn't be extracted in any way. You have full ownership of that. It seems that may not have been the case after all. But I think, the way that the crypto community responded to this was really, really interesting. And I'd love to get all of your takes on this. At the end of the day, it is an opt-in service. It is an update. If I can share my screen here really quickly, what they did actually, what I just saw earlier today, is that they delayed their plans for the recovery service because of all the controversy that happened. I even checked out the updates or upgrade portion of their webpage. It looks like the last upgrade would be from February 13th, 2023. So they did indeed pull that away. And then the question is, now will they make it, they're currently a closed source. So will they now make this an open source code for others to actually go in and validate everything that's going on and be a little bit more transparent and trustworthy with what they're doing? those are all big questions that are going to come on the horizon, but would love to get y'all's take of what you've seen on Twitter, everything that, has been going around, what you all use from a hardware wallet perspective, and kind of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I can go first. I think, things like this have a tendency to be overblown, but I think when it comes to hard wallet, you're really dealing with a user base that understands the risks of using a hard wallet. Like, sure, you could lose your seed phrase and you could just be like locked out of your wallet, or you could lose your hardware wallet in general and have no access to your funds. But that's like a risk that this particular user base is willing to take for the benefits specifically of the privacy of the user control and of the like for those benefits specifically, right? And so for them to kind of just like randomly without any context release this upgrade, it's very understandable how the crypto community was pretty spooked, particularly because Ledger is I think the most popular hardware wallet, if not like definitely the top few. So I think the response from the community is definitely understandable. Was it a bit overblown, especially because it's an opt-in service? Possibly. But you have to understand like the user demographic that you're really dealing with, right? If you buy a hardware wallet and you're going through the effort of actually using it, like all of us are, and probably most of the people watching this channel are, you understand the risks that are associated with it, and you're voluntarily taking that risk because you also understand the positives. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most concerning thing is that hardware wallets are supposed to be kind of the safe haven for your crypto. So I think that these headlines definitely have more of like a sticker shock effect. And I think to Zoe's point, like a lot of the times when you get into that area where, people know that it's going to shock audiences, they tend to overblow things. So I'm interested to see whether or not they just deprecate the update and just allow people to say, hey, this was a mistake. Like we shouldn't have allowed this, and just basically allow people to get around it in some way. Because I think I was saying this before we started recording, but if they start seeing, oh, like we're losing, our monthly user acquisition for Ledger has gone down tremendously since we've launched this update, and people are going to Trezor, like I don't see why they would go through with this. So I'm just interested to see what the actual fallout's going to be and how real these headlines are, and see what comes down the pipeline.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, the problem with making an innovative update as the market incumbent, right? Like if this was a smaller player in the hard wallet space and they did this, they would be seen as innovative and like a new solution to a problem. Whereas when you're the incumbent and you're the person that wants to keep pushing, what uh, you know, private storage of your crypto and tech around that is like, you can't really push out updates like this without getting an enormous amount of backlash. I think it's important to note that, yeah, it's an opt-in service. This isn't something that, personally I would be adding. And so I think, like you're saying, it's overdone, but it's also trying to, go after an interesting problem that we have where if you lose your seed phrase, you're kind of screwed. Like there isn't a lot else you can do there. And I think that's certainly a problem that needs to be attacked and looked into in this space. But it's tough to do it when you're the incumbent. So yeah, I think that's the big portion. I don't know if they deprecate it or what they do, but they're a great brand and they need to make sure that, I feel comfortable that I continue to use their products. So whether that's saying, hey, we're only doing it on these devices or whatnot, then yeah, some action needs to be taken in that space. But yeah, I think it's just tough because they're the incumbent. If it was a smaller, startup, it'd be really interesting, but they're not. So
I
that's just
think
my
like the intention of what they're going after, which is essentially trying to solve poor user experience, which is, something that we talk about all the time for
Exactly.
crypto to get to the next frontier is like the user experience has to be a lot better. And so the intention of what they're trying to do here, I understand and I sympathize with, but the way they went about it is like, in my opinion, not the right way to do it. Like, the innovation needs to be around how to make it easier for a person to keep track of their seed phrase or use it easier, or it should be on the innovation should be on the side of the user, not outsourcing or letting somebody else hold your seed phrase in some sort of like trusted space, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's split amongst 2 or 3 different custodians, and they don't know any the other parts of the seed phrase or whatever it may be, just the fact that you have to give that out, I don't think, and like that's why I think they're receiving a lot of backlash, because clearly it's an issue. I think the right way to do it, and whoever will succeed at that will, stand to be like a big winner, I think, is fixing that issue on the side of the user, though, right? Not on the side of like outsourcing the seed phrase in any way.
Well, they're also trying to stay relevant in like a very really hot part of crypto right now. Like I think account abstraction is one of the biggest like Ethereum improvement, proposals that is out there right now, where you want to be able to almost create smart contract wallets rather than like a seed phrase wallet. Like there's going to be a lot of mix up in this space going forward here, because you're totally right. The user experience has to be improved. It's a little rough right now, so it feels like they're moving in a good direction. It's just maybe they should take a little more feedback from the users and kind of understand their user base before they push something out like this again.
Yeah, I think, Evan, with that last statement, you really nailed it, right? At the end of the day, especially in the state of the crypto space, like crystal clear communication is going to be critical here moving forward, right? So you can't just release these updates and upgrades of things that are going to like cause a lot of backlash, right? I mean, the whole thing with crypto, trust is almost like a dirty word when it comes to trusting these centralized organizations, right? Crypto, we want to have a trustless system, right? So at the end of the day, something like this, where it's like, maybe I can't trust them. Oh, it happens that their code is closed source, right? Now we don't have people who can actually dig into the software and trust this and really, verify exactly what's going on instead of just believing every word that you say, right? So I think at the end of the day, this could have really been prevented with that crystal clear communication out of the gate and being very communicative about what they're trying to do, the things that they're working on, what they're going to plan on doing from an upgrade perspective, because then they could have gotten that feedback prior to actually having this launch and things going south for them, right? So I think at the end of the day, it raised a lot more questions that it answered, not just about Ledger, but about hardware wallets and how trustless all of these things really are. How much of ownership do you really have with these things? And so I think, we preached it all the time. We preached it when everything was going down with FTX, like own everything that you have, right? Don't leave these things on exchanges. But we also have to start to look at some of these centralized organizations that are housing some of these hardware wallets as well, and start to make sure we're making good selections with the people that we actually do trust. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have a little bit of trust that we have to put in some of these organizations. So that's kind of my last take on that.
I love it. I love it. I think that kind of wraps things up for us. Hopefully you found this helpful, and hopefully you guys are doing a little bit more research on your hardware wallet providers. So I think this is definitely an important topic to be tracking, especially because, hardware wallets are kind of where you want to store your crypto assets safely. But if you found any value here, definitely consider liking the video and commenting and subscribing to the channel. But that's it for us this week, and we'll see you next week. Wag me.